Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Isis, Escape from Transylvania. The goddess next door and John Haynes must escape a horde of vampires on the hunt in this horror-filled Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Escape from Transylvania in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. A long time ago in a ghetto far, far away in the South Bronx, I wanted to be a comic book writer. And after 20 years of trying to make a break in the industry, I am now working towards completing that goal as part of the SJS Direct imprint. This weekend, I completed the first draft of the comic script for the first ISIS graphic novel, and this ISIS graphic novel will be an adaptation of the upcoming 2019 ISIS series book, ISIS All That Glitters. Now, I plan to have two stories in this ISIS graphic novel. The first is that adaptation of ISIS All That Glitters, and the second is an adaptation of the Eastteam debut story, Eastteam No Good Deed. And you can read the first 10 pages of the ISIS All That Glitters script on my blog, Shawn James Black Freelance Writer, by clicking the link in the description box, and you can also read the second draft of the Eastteam No Good Deed story script in the link in the description box. Now that I have completed the script, this is where I have to start working on the logistics of developing this script into an actual comic. And this is where I have an even greater challenge than I had writing comics, because comic book writing is a completely different skill set than novel writing or screenwriting, two areas of writing that I learned how to write in, because comic book writing requires you to be able to turn words into pictures that fit in panels, and those panels have to work within sequence towards telling a story. So the comic book model is completely different than your novel or your screenplay, because you have to understand how to not only write words that create pictures in someone's imagination, but you have to set up shots in the artist's mind so that they can know what pictures to frame to effectively tell the story. So in a comic book, you have to not only think about the descriptions you're giving, but you have to think about whether there's a wide shot, a medium shot, a close-up, or there's some other creative shot that you need to use in order to tell the story, because you're telling the story with pictures. And while many people say I have a strong visual style, the real challenge is making sure that that strong visual style tells the picture with the right pictures. And that's something I learned over the last couple of years working with Bill Walko in designing the covers for the ISIS series books, and Mike Williams working on covers for books like the legendary Mad Matilda and John Haynes' A Conversation with Death. And now that I've really learned a lot about the whole craft of comic book writing, I'm again now working on the logistics for turning this script into a full graphic novel. And this is a whole different other skill set than your traditional self-publishing, because when it comes down to publishing, all you have to do is create a file in Microsoft Word and have the fonts embedded when you make the PDF, upload that, upload the cover, and you have a printed paperback book. However, with comics, it's a completely different skill set, because in it, I'm not working alone anymore. If I work on a comic, I will also be working with an artist. I will also be working with a possible inker. I will possibly be working with a colorist, and I will also be working on logistics for laying out this comic in the Adobe software, and I'll be trying to work on developing the PDF for the comic. I might have to outsource some of that work, but it's all part of the process. And part of the process towards developing this ISIS graphic novel will be me trying to develop an Indiegogo. Now, many people who are a part of Comicsgate, they are using Indiegogo to raise their funds to get their comics published, and I plan on doing the same as well, once I work out the logistics of who the artist will be and who will be working on things like the inks and the lettering and the coloring. Once we work all that out, then I can start talking about raising the funds for the Indiegogo. And I'm hoping to be able to get an Indiegogo up sooner rather than later. I know that as part of raising the funds for Indiegogo, I'm going to have to try to find an artist to do a couple of sample pages of this script and have them on the Indiegogo so people will know what they're getting. And that will be the artist for one of the stories. And I have to have art for both stories, really, if I hope to have this Indiegogo, because this is going to be what is the feature of this comic, are the two stories, All That Glitters and No Good Deed, plus some pinups. And I also want to be able to work on the logistics of how much things will cost as related to the printing cost, as related to the labor cost of the artist. So there's a lot of challenges up ahead for me as I take on the project of developing an ISIS graphic novel. But this is something I've wanted to do ever since I was 9 years old, and I'm looking forward to going out here and doing this because as it relates to the whole comic book industry, I've always wanted to be a part of the comic book industry, and I've always wanted to write comics, and it would mean a lot to me to be able to finally get one of my stories turned into the comic book it was originally planned to be, because ISIS was originally planned to be a comic book, and I only turned it into a series of superhero prose fiction or YA books because the comic book industry at the time in the late 1990s was in a major slump, and there was no way for me to shop the character to comic publishers. But with print on demand technology and with the state of crowdfunding, I can finally bring ISIS to readers in the graphic novel format, and that's something I'm looking forward to doing, and I'm hoping people will stay with me and support the ISIS graphic novel when I launch the Indiegogo, because this is a project, again, that I'm looking forward to putting together, and it's a project I'm hoping to be able to bring to the comic marketplace, because as a writer of African American fantasy fiction, this is something that I have wanted to do, again, since I was 9 years old, and it would mean, again, a lot to me to be able to finally give readers that ISIS comic book I've been wanting to publish ever since 1999. Stay tuned to this channel to find out more about the ISIS graphic novel. I'm hoping to get stuff moving sooner rather than later, and I'm hoping to eventually be able to have an ISIS graphic novel to share with all of my readers who have bought my books over the years, and be able to take the SJS Direct imprint to the next level. If you'd like to buy the current ISIS series books, you can do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. There you will find the ISIS series books, the Eastteam series books, the John Haynes series books, and the Spinsterella trilogy books. And you will also find my men's issues books as well. And if you want to help me make more videos like this, or help me pay for book covers for upcoming 2019 SJS Direct books, you may do so by clicking the link to the Patreon in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.